Hello, my people. How are you? You are most welcome to today's session. I see y'all. Come right in the room, share with someone to share with someone. Come right in the room. Phenomenal. Okay, so as you're sharing with others, I'm going ahead and sharing as well on all my platforms. I will get started here shortly. Come in the room, say hello to someone in the chat. And as you come in, if you do have a copy of A Line in the Sand, go ahead and dust it up, pick it up, and let's discuss. That's what we're here to do today. And you say you're ready, didn't you? You did say so, and I heard you. So we're about to do this. Da 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 da. If you know this song, put it in the chat. Da 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 da. All right, so that used to be the song that used to come up before we would do story time on Sunday evenings. So hence Sundays are for what? Stories. Sundays are for what? Stories. That's what we're doing here today. So as soon as I share this link, we'll get started. This is your cue to go ahead and share with everyone. This is your cue to go ahead and share with everyone. And if you're joining the replay, yeah, go ahead and share with someone. Be like, I'm about to embark on this thing. Are you sure you're not coming in? Come right in. Immortalize in the chat. It is true. It is Tales by Moonlight because, we don't really play like that. We're very serious. Sundays are for stories. So Tales by Moonlight, it's happening. It's happening. Okay. Have you shared the link? Who has shared the link? If you shared the link, let me see your hands. If you shared the link, let me see your hands. Let's get started right here. Okay. So now that we're on here, today we're going to be talking about love. Why? It's the month of love. At least that's what we dedicated February as. You see my red lipstick? I'm wearing it for you because this month, we don't play with February. If you are a woman, especially, or yeah, you're anyone. If you're a man too, I mean, you're the one who's going to put it in the woman's life. Do you understand? Like, So woman, man, everyone, it is time to show love to the people you actually do love, to the people who are your significant others. That's how we celebrate this month of Valentine. So I thought about it and I said, hey, what better way than to share stories? If you've never met me before, my name is Bralade. Welcome to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Okay. Real quick as I join Instagram in. So dust up your copy and we're starting right now. My name is Bralade and lovely to meet you. I'm a coach, boundaries coach. I'm an author, best-selling author, fiction writer, and I'm a mentor to many people through my platforms, the Lead Essence and coaching and consulting platform, and then PWYP Media. I do content and documentaries, and I write stories and I tell stories, some of which one day will be on Netflix. And when I was going to teach about the topic of boundaries, if you know me, you know I'm a boundaries coach as well as a leadership expert, right? when I was going to teach on the topic of boundaries, I thought to myself, I was like, how do I explain to people that there are these psychological skills that they need to have to manage the relationships they're in, that if they do, it will help them enjoy healthier relationships? Is it actually a competency of healthy people? And when I was thinking about it, I thought to one of the reasons why I love my culture as well as not like my culture many times. And it is this exact same topic of telling people what to do. You must do this. You should do that. No, don't do this. No, don't do that. And I find that a problematic way of teaching because you suppose that you know more than a person who is literally the ruler of the kingdom called them. And I thought, what is a more effective way to actually convey knowledge, to actually teach people? What is a more effective way? And I found that a more effective way has already been modeled. You look at the greats, the philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, and even Shakespeare, the greats, right? You find out that they taught through stories. In fact, they taught by not teaching. That is the sneakiest way that ideas and concepts come to your mind. It is simply by introducing an idea with entertainment, without pointing fingers, so that somebody is able to look at another person's life and see how their lives relate to it. This is what my Lord and Savior, I'm Christian, Jesus did. He would come up with these parables and he would weave the stories. Someone will ask Jesus a simple question and he will be like, let me tell you a story. It's like, G. Just tell me, what do you think? And he would say, no, hold on. Let me tell you a story. I'm like my father. I'm like my big bro, Jesus. So I decided to do the same thing. Because whenever I would talk about boundaries in relationships, people would be like, okay, but I understand boundaries in a relationship that is toxic. I understand boundaries with other people, but definitely not my spouse. Do you mean to say my spouse? And I said, I mean to say your spouse. But I thought, you know what, brother, you're speaking a lot of English. How about if we go ahead and tell stories? How many of you, something that you've learned in your life, you learned it through stories? No, share in the chat. I want to see you. Something that you've learned in your life, it was a story that was like, yeah, this taught me that this. In fact, when you look back, you didn't realize you quite learned this, right? But later you found out that, I actually, this is where I got this concept of this thing. No, if you have, put it in the chat. And let me tell you, if you didn't know that you've learned through stories, should I tell you how you would know? Put your favorite book, your favorite story, your favorite movie. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Then I will show you that some of the paradigms we have that you don't even realize it's sitting in your subconscious is through the movies, it's through the stories that we hear. The race is not to the swift, the battle is not to the strong. It's still sounding cool in the Bible when you hear of it. Then they tell you about the tortoise and the hare. When they told you about the tortoise and the hare, did that scripture come alive to you? The tortoise was just taking it one step at a time, just going. They rung the bell. They say, whoever comes first will win this and that. And then they'll paint this picture. They'll say, remember, the hare is the fastest creature. You'll be like, oh, wow, there's no way the tortoise is going to win. And then the tortoise starts coming. And then the tortoise is going little by little, little by little. But the hare is like, come on now, I got this. And the hare started priding. Priding is actually a Nigerian word that means prideful. That's how we just coin English like that. The hare started priding. And what happened? The tortoise kept going. Consistency, focus, discipline, effort. And then the other cases were distraction, saving for tomorrow what you can do today, procrastination, and just a general lack of focus. The hare went to gist with people when he was supposed to be running to finish line. And what finally happened? What happened was I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase. What happened was most times when people say that they're trying to explain something that shouldn't have been explained, something that is like, come on, don't tell me that happened. And then somebody's like, no, 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 I really meant to. But what happened was, so the hare ended up losing because the tortoise kept right on going. You see the difference. Through that story, nobody needs to tell you, look, it's good to remain focused. In life, just keep running. In this, do you see how you got a lesson? No, tell me the lessons you got from the tortoise and the hare. Tell me the lessons you got from the tortoise and the hare. If you've ever heard that story. And if you've ever heard any other story that's really, really, really transformed how you look at life without you even realizing it. But now that I mention it and you're looking back, you're beginning to notice, there's something here. Yeah, I see in the chat someone is saying most vital lessons I've learned were told. We're told to him, and stories delivered through traditional music. I know, all of that music, all of those things, they are to set the stage for your mind to accept what is being told you. Like if you don't have very strong internal filters, if a story is brought to you, you will believe before you realize that you believed. Stories are that powerful. And so I want to take my time today to let you know that when we talk about stories, the power of stories to change a mind, the power of stories, don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. And we're about to go into our story time because I told you tortoise and the hare, but that's not really my story. So now we're about to go into story time. Go ahead and share this link with your friends, the people who aren't here right now. Put it in your stories, put it in those groups. Because when you're gisting this week, I want to give you material to gist with. When we're talking about Valentine, I don't want us to look at hashtag couple goals. I don't want us to swoon in Bella Niger wedding pictures, as beautiful as they are. But I don't want that to be the mirror of your Valentine. There's something you can learn. There's stories behind all of those beautiful pictures that you have that can change your perspective of what you're saying if you only knew those stories. If you have shared, put in the chat, shared. If you have shared, put in the chat, say shared. 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 Do y'all see me? Okay, great. Shared. Okay, great. So when I decided to start writing, my friend said something. They said, brother, there's only one thing that we know that you ought to write about. And I was like, what? And they said, boundaries. And I said, really? Why do you say that? They were like, that's what you talk about. That's what you teach us about a lot of the time. So when I sat down and I thought actually, not taught. Taught is past tense of teach. Thought is past tense of think. When I thought, I started writing. I wanted to tell people step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you set boundaries. This is how you do. This is how you behave. And I said, brother, you know you don't believe in another person being authority over somebody else, except by permission. You know that you believe truly that each person is fully resourced with the wisdom that they need for their own lives. You know that you truly believe that you want people to own power in their lives. You know that these are the things you believe. How are you going to turn right back and be like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that? I said, no. I want people to collect the wisdom that they need for themselves. I might think this is the way, but if I tell them the principles behind it, they'll be able to do their own 7 steps. So I started writing stories. When Nathan, the prophet Nathan, was going to tell David that he was doing something wrong, do you remember what happened? There was a point that Nathan was afraid. How would David take this thing? David, these days, he's not hearing word. Though. How would David take this thing that I'm telling him? And, Nathan said, I will tell his story. And he went and gisted David this whole story. And what did At the end of the day, this thing that David could not see in his own life, this thing that if they had told David, David would have been like, how dare you talk to me like that? David could see it very clearly because it was somebody else's life. David is like, why would that man behave like that? No, 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 he's wrong. And Nathan said, but that's what you are doing, sir. O king, live forever. That's what you are doing. And he said, you mean that's what I'm doing? That was why he was able to get it. So today, as we go through this story, you will find out that you will see yourself more clearly than you ever have previously. You will see yourself. You will not only see yourself and see where certain pains come from, but you will also have the wisdom to begin to navigate your way out of where you are. You will see your friend, you will see your sibling, you will see your colleagues, and you will now have language for them. If you want to bless someone with a lesson, sometimes don't just tell them what to do. Tell them a story that they'll be able to find themselves through. Are we good now? Are we good now? Are we good now? Mm-hmm. All right. So I wrote this book, A Line in the Sand. If you have your copy of A Line in the Sand, go ahead and put it in the chat. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't shared the link, go ahead and share it. It's the YouTube link. It's in my bio. It's in my stories, actually. Or on YouTube, you can go ahead and share it with other people. And I thought, which stories should I start to share with people? And I said, what is a sweet gist in this book? And when I wrote this book, I said, people are going to laugh. They're going to cry. They're going to curse. And they're going to learn. Isn't that a beautiful way to learn? I think it is. I love to learn that way because it shows me that you honor you. Put in the chat, say, I honor me. I own my power. So this book contains 14 stories of boundaries in marriage. I have people who walk up to me and say, why did Cheta behave like that? I can't believe him. This Tarala girl. They talk to me as though these people exist because they do. They exist in the pages of this book. They exist, some versions of them exist in you and in your relationships. They exist around you. And no problem. Next time you see me, come and talk to me like they exist because they exist in my mind. I don't know what they're doing. They don't live with me. But next time I see him, I'll tell him that thing he did is not good. You understand me? Or I'll tell them that thing they did is good. What do I write about? I write about boundaries and infidelity, infertility with friends, with parents, with children. I talk about boundaries in happy marriages, in marriages that aren't so happy, in purpose, in prosperity, in literally every facet of relationships. That's what I write about. So if you are ready, when I say story, go ahead and put in the chat. Story. You say story. Once upon a time, you say what? You say time. Oh my goodness. All right, so we get started now. Thank you for putting that in the chat. And if you have questions, you have comments, we're doing this together, right? I can see that old man telling the story and looking in the faces of the little children just to see how they light up and how the emotions change. So if you have questions throughout, you have comments, please put it in the chat and we'll get together on this. Every woman's dream man. The day I left was the day he called his mother a witch and hung up on her. His handsome face, the color of mahogany, was set in a determined mask. I could see the sods of the spittle at the corner of his mouth from when he was cursing his mother. I could faintly hear her feebly trying to defend and explain something on the other end of the call. This time I did not cry. This time I did not feel the chills from the shock and of disgust and astonishment I had felt the first time I experienced this outburst. This time I just felt the weariness of someone who had been hanging onto a ledge for hours. It felt like the scales were falling off, as if someone pulled back the curtains on the starkness of truth. In the same way, you cannot unsee a naked person who was inadvertently exposed. I knew there was no going back on the reality of Timebi's character. I did not even feel the weight of my own resolve. It was as if the decision had been made for me. I realized the numbness I felt was in the inevitability of what had to happen. Have you ever been there? No, this is me now talking. This is not the book. Have you ever been there? You're talking with someone, and at that moment, you just make a decision in your heart. You're just like, nah. No, if you've been there, put it in the chat. Have you ever been there? You're talking with someone, you are relating. In the person's mind, they are not seeing that internally a decision has been made. Say, thus far no more. Or we are not doing this what again. So I slowly got up and started walking towards the door. He was still mumbling, I will not have you talk to me anyhow. When I make a decision, it is final. He continued pacing. They never born the person will go try me. Rubbish. Nonsense. I don't care who you are. I will tell you my mind. And insult your generation very well. He was fuming and working himself up even more. Have you ever had that person that when they lose it, it's like they have lost it? Everything, everybody will be shaking. They will not say, you know, that's how she is now. You know, that's how daddy is. You know, that's how mommy is. You know, that's how your brother is. You know, that's how your friend is. This lecturer, your boss, that's how they are. Oh. And you tolerate this behavior that you know is absolutely wrong. Till the day you are like, what? No more, no more. No more, no more for many thousand years. No more, no more sorrow. So I was quietly picking up my book where I had left it. It was the dog-eared wedding planning journal with the details of the event I'd been planning now for almost 7 months. It felt like 7 years ago, now that I think about it. It was hard to remember the time before then, or the gorgeous dude that had asked me to marry him while on one knee, with a saxophonist serenading us. Funny now that I think about it, he didn't wait for my response before he slipped the ring on, and my gleeful yes was lost in the cheers of friends and family he had gathered at the Lagoon Club. Brethren and sistren, what has stood out to you so far? No. I need somebody to put in the chat. If you've been there before, just us. Have you ever been there? As you're just looking at someone, as people are talking, you're just like, nah, I can never date you. This can never work. Nah, I can never, nah, I don't think we can be friends. Did she just say that to that person? Or you go for an interview. I said, put it in the chat, people. Put your own story. I want to read it in the chat. Or you go for an interview, and from entering, you saw how they were speaking to, the subordinate staff, and they told you that the last person to leave here, the boss must leave before everybody leaves here, even though work is supposed to close at 5, you can't leave till like 10. Sometimes you might have to sleep, and you just might say, oh, thank you for the information. But you know inside your inner soul that it's not really like that. Or you go to a church, a first timer, and from first timer, they started telling you why your lipstick is going to take you to hell. You smile, say, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Yes. God bless you. In fact, your smile is brighter when you know that you are never coming back again. No, true or false? The day that you know that, this uncle, when he say, I just want you to know, I know you're a medical doctor. I know you have dreams to work in the United Nations. Even now you are doing your internship there. But I just want you to know, once we get married, my wife is not going to work. I don't care who you are, I will provide for you. And I don't want nannies, anybody around my children, only you. So any dream you have to sacrifice it at the altar of this marriage. No, tell me what your response is, because I'm not seeing it in the chat. What's your response to this? Your response is like, depending on where you are, especially if you are somewhere private. If you are somewhere private, you think about your safety and you just say to yourself, oh, it's okay. You don't argue. How can you say that? How can you say, I can't work? No, you know that level, we are not even at that level. We have left that level. They did not say, oh, you can't work in the Middle East. You can only work in what? America. No. They say flat out, you can't work. You can't have a nanny. You are it. And you know that you just accepted that role with USAID, which they're trying to dismantle. But as I was saying, you know that you have just accepted. You don't argue. If you used to argue, let me advise you, don't bother arguing. It's gone. You go talk to a friend, and this friend starts to say something that they're not supposed to know. And you're thinking, well, who told you? They're like your best friend. You go and meet best friend. Best friend, did you tell this person this thing? I was just gisting now. You know, the gist was so sweet. I was like, yeah, let me just gist out what's happening between you and your husband. Yeah. Oh, okay. But this thing you did, it really hurt me or it pained me. I was there. Everybody's husband cheats. Why are you hiding it? Just share it. What are you hiding? Oh. So you didn't even ask me before you told. I just wanted to this. You take things too seriously. Red flags in a relationship. Red flags in a relationship. Do you see? Tell me what this story has taught you so far. We haven't even gone to the reason why he's insulting his mother, because now Timebi is there insulting his mother. She is listening, his fiance, from what we're seeing. She's listening and she's thinking to herself, this thing said something. She said, it felt like the scales were falling off. Remember, what did he just call his mother? He just called his mother a witch. Oh, he was cursing at his mother. I will not have anyone talk to me anyhow. When I make a decision, it is final. He's yelling at his mother. They never born the person who could try me. He's talking to his mother like that. Tell me in the chat, what does that tell you? If somebody can talk to their mother like this, and you are the incoming bride, what do you think will happen? Because in relationships, in interactions, we extrapolate. If someone behaves with you like this in this context, it is plausible you can take from that context and draw it to another context. If they can talk to someone that they respect in their lives in a certain way, you can take it and draw it to another context. You see how that works? And when that works like that, you start to see where everything that people do around you is information, is data. When they say the world is collecting data every day on you, people say, oh, Google is spying on you. They are not spying on you to see where you are going. No, they are collecting data. They now look and they say that every Tuesday she goes to the coffee store. They say that every Saturday she goes to buy clothes. It's data. It's stacking. In our interactions with each other, we're supposed to be collecting data. Data does not mean counting wrongs against people. No. It is supposed to be data that will inform us how to treat you, how to relate with you. And if you are healthy inside, you are self-aware, you have a set of values, core beliefs, you know how you should never behave and how you never want to be associated. One day, in the context of that relationship, the scales will fall off your eyes. No, I said put in the chat, if the scales have ever fall off your eyes, Put in the chat. I want to speak to that particular situation. Said it felt like the scales were falling off, as if someone pulled back the curtains on the starkness of truth. The same way you look at a naked person and you cannot unsee their nakedness. Like, even if you remove your face, it's emblazoned on your heart, like it's indelible. You're just like, that's why people say, I don't want to see. Especially if it's your relative or someone you're not supposed to be seeing, not a significant other. You don't want to see. That is what happens when truth comes to you in the context of a relationship. When truth comes to you in the context of a relationship, you just know that, nah, I cannot unsee this thing I've seen. This thing has been exposed. You see, the problem is many times when we see red flags and we have seen it, we have to work extra hard to cover that truth that our heart now knows. We have to work extra hard. She said, I knew there was no going back on the reality of Timebi's character. She said, I didn't even feel the weight of my resolve. I love it when your values make decisions for you. Sometimes we say, I don't know why I feel uncomfortable, and there's a way I always feel, I don't want to feel like that towards my spouse. And I say, but what happened? Well, he keeps calling me a prostitute. I'm not a prostitute. I don't like it, but I don't want to feel resentment. Auntie, your alarm bells are going, wah, 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 wah. Listen to the alarm bells. Listen to the alarm bells. They're telling you that we're in a situation that is not right, that is counter to my health, to my emotional health. Do something about this. Say, I will listen to my alarm bells. Put it in the chat. I listen to my alarm bells. So who wants to know why she was making all these decisions and what led us to here? Because we start from the green flag. Someone's nice to you, they smile at you, they really like you, they like the way you think, the way you talk, the way you move. So because of that, they want to have a date with you. That is what? It's a green flag. They were nice, they were courteous, they were polite. And then you go. And then something shows yellow flag. Yellow flag is that this is not, if you tell half of the people, will be like, there's nothing there now. Yellow flag. There's nothing there now. It's not really that deep. It's not really that serious. Yellow flag. That's what yellow flag actually is. But yellow flag is telling you, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention here. Pay attention. There you go. I see you, Motola. I see you, Isk, in the chat. Yeah, go ahead and let's keep this going together. And that thing is telling you to pay attention. Let's go to the yellow flag, because now we're at the red flag moment. But there's a flashback in this story. My mind flashed back, so now she's talking again. My mind flashed back to the proposal. We had been in a flight the night before, so I wasn't expecting it. It was a huge argument where he had called me the B word and ungrateful. I did not think we were going to get back together again. You know when you and somebody quarrel, one big quarrel, that everywhere is hot, everything is fire. Then tomorrow you are just walking, and it's like, hey, what's up now? And you are looking like, is it me? Is it another person? Do we have amnesia? What just happened here? Did you just cuss me out in front of the whole place? Then now we're friends. Help me understand. Explain to me. No, if it has ever happened to you, put up your hand. I want to see. Yellow, that's yellow. Yellow flag right there. Anyway, so when our mutual friend who incidentally introduced us told me to pick her up at the social club where our families have been members since we were little kids, I had to muster the strength to leave the house. I had stood up, wiped my tears, and driven the 15 minutes to the club, thinking how to break the news to Laifa, who apparently thought we were the perfect couple. Not necessarily because we were compatible, but because we were the perfectly sculpted power couple. Both doctors, he a consultant of ophthalmology, while I a third-year pediatrics resident at Luth. How many times have people say, hey, I know that boss, I know that company, they normally owe you people for 10 months, even though they are spending bonuses on everything. But, just endure. There are people that don't even have work. That marriage looks like it's bad, That man looks like he's cheating on you. At least it's only gonorrhea he gave you. He did not give you HIV. At least he has only one side chick. He doesn't have five. It can be worse, so it can be worse. Look, let me just tell you, just be happy for what you have. And people start to massage your yellow flag so that it can start to look green. No matter how much you massage yellow, it can never be what? It can never be green. It can never be what? It can never be green. If you want yellow to turn to green, you must add blue to it. Those of you who understand primary colors, you know what I mean. So let's keep going. Timebi and I are both from the same Bielsa state. And though our parents did not know each other, when we were introduced, he was familiar. In that vain way that a member of your social class appears like a cultural fit. Anybody ever toasted you and you're just like, checking the boxes? Any friend ever came to gist with you and you're just like, oh my gosh, we like the same books, we like the same things, and you're thinking this is a match made in heaven? Anybody ever did that? We shared medicine and experiences from private universities. We shared tales of annual vacations abroad, and we never lacked what to talk about. Or rather, he never ran out of topics to discuss. Have you ever been in some relationships sometimes? Everything was okay till you had something to say. The person has been gisting with you all this while, or you thought the person has been gisting with you. Then later you finally have a gist, and you are trying to get this gist in there. And you are not having airtime. They are not listening to you. The more you try to say, look what happened, it even happened to me too. In fact, let me gist you my own. Don't worry. When I finish, you will talk. And as soon as they finish, they're like, okay, see you next week now. And you're just left in the lurch. You don't have airtime in that relationship. Red flag. I'm not even branching at yellow. Yeah, no. Have you ever been in that kind of relationship? Share with me in the chat. How much airtime? One time when I was podcasting, whenever you finish the transcript, when you put the audio into the transcriber and it will tell you what percentage each speaker spoke for. And I noticed in a podcast where I'm interviewing a guest, the best kind of conversations are the ones where I speak about 25 to 30%, and my guest speaks about 70 to 75%. Why? Because it's my show, and I'm giving them airtime to speak on my show. Now, if we were co-hosts, I would expect that we should be somewhere between 40 and 50%. If we are 30 and 70, it don't balance. It's not balancing. How much airtime do you have in your relationships? And sometimes you may be the one that is taking all the airtime. And you're like, me, I have problems. I love my best friend, and she's always listening. She always has a listening ear. Do you have a listening ear for said best friend? You see that? Anyway, so she went to this restaurant, and I loved listening. So she's giving us a background. And I love listening. So it was not a hard thing to do. She was listening to him talk all the time. I was jolted back to reality as the huge stonework sign of the Lagos Lagoon Club loomed on my path. Anyway, so finally she's looking for a friend now, right? A quick glance around, and I realized that her classy teal Kia Soul was nowhere around. A bit miffed, I picked up the phone to call her. She should have let me know she had made other plans. Today was not the day. Remember, she's upset because she and her boo have had a tiff. She picked up on second ring. Alari, where are you now? This person who has been talking since, her name is Alari. I responded exasperated. Where else? Of course, where you said you would be. She said, don't be angry now. I'm inside. You see, good friends are friends when you call them out on what they are doing. They tell you, don't be angry. They realize if it's something they've done wrong, they own up. It's not hard. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have told you I wasn't here right now. Not the one, how long did you wait? That's gaslighting. If you do that, that's gaslighting. Stop it. Don't try to escape. And didn't you do it before? No. Own up to your own responsibility. I said, so come out now. I replied, my impatience betrayed my tone. So the friend said, no, you come inside. There's something I want you to see. I hope you dress nicely like I told you, she said, ignoring my impatience. I could swear she was wearing that annoying grin now. What room are you in? I heard the click as she had cut the call. I groaned. I was not in the mood for games, but I extracted the lip gloss from the glove compartment of my 2018 Toyota RAV4, cursing under my breath. Thankfully, I had a spare wig in my car that I had pulled on and gave a quick pat before I stepped out. At the lobby, someone asked, are you a Lyra? Yes, I replied gratefully, because I did not know which of the 6 wings to start looking for as I followed him. Surprise! Everyone shouted as I walked in the room, and only my frozen, shocked state kept my feet planted at its spot. I started spotting the familiar faces in the crowd. There was my chief resident and Auntie Priye, my brother and my cousins, our parents. I was still bewildered, wondering whether my birthday, which was another 2 months away, was worth all this, when Timiebi came through the small crowd. He walked through a makeshift rose-petaled aisle and fell on one knee in the path of the flowers that stopped right in front of me. As I figured out what was happening, my confusion doubled. He approached me slowly, his eyes fixed on mine as he slowly approached and said, Alaire, my beautiful girl, I knew from the first day I met you that you would be my wife. I love you so much, and I want you to be mine for always. Marry me. Somebody tell me what the issue in this is. How many of you have heard sometimes that somebody came and said, I like this girl, I will marry this girl. You, this girl, I will marry you. Or even a girl, a lady saying, I will marry this man. I'm sorry, are you a witch? How are you going to marry me without my permission? Are you a manipulator? Are you a kidnapper? How upon how? You go to a job interview, they're interviewing and you're like, I will work for this company. Yeah, auntie, calm down. If we offer you a role, you will. But if you're not a witch, can you ask me instead of telling me what will be? I will marry you. You are my wife. Then everywhere they see, they start to say, my wife, my wife. Why? Did I say yes? What's really happening? No, how many of you, somebody has told you that before? I don't even know why people argue with people like that. You just laugh and you keep moving because they cannot bind your hands and take you to the altar. Why are you moved? So that's what Timiebi was saying. He said, marry me. I knew from the first day I saw you that you'd be my wife. Look, this thing I'm saying, he was saying, it sounds very romantic. Because remember, the person's on one knee right in front of you, your family, there's rose petals everywhere. I don't know if they were playing music and the thing was saying, baby, you look perfect tonight. You know, telling you I'll be loving you till 70. You would just, all your body would just melt. Red flag begin to look like pink, the color of roses. Hey, God. And this was what Alaire was seeing. After he made this profound speech, she said, my fairy tale was happening in the moment, and I was swept up in the fulfillment of the dream I had nursed since my secondary school days of Mills and Boone's. Looking around the room and seeing the approving faces and celebratory cheers only affirmed my decision, or the decision that was made for me, because he was already slipping the ring on as I said yes. How many of you have seen those proposals? As the guy just gets on one knee, everybody's like, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes. If you are shouting, say yes, oh, you're going to marry the person. No, no, no. Are you one of them? Put in the chat. I want to see you. Once somebody kneels down, you're just In fact, people have the guts to say, she embarrassed him. No, she helped him by saying no. Imagine that she said yes and went through with the wedding because people were looking during the proposal. Imagine that. Is that a better outcome? Imagine that. She said, it's now she's looking back. So now think about those your relationships. Pick the problematic ones, right? The ones where you've been experiencing red flags. Think about it and look back and be like, something was off. Let me tell you, your brain will begin to supply you the things that were off. Even if you are a boss and you employed someone who is not behaving well, sometimes you don't see it from the front, you see it from behind. It's true. There was a time this person was behaving like that. It's true. There was a this. You start to see those things from behind. She said, looking back now, there was no question to respond to, just another one of his commands. Just another one of his commands. Marry me. Go here. No, you can't. Remember, these two people were equivalent in age. They are not even married yet. And everything is command, order, command. Even a boss defers to his employees sometimes. What do you think is best? Well, if you don't do that, I want to advise you to start doing it. Even a parent defers to the kids sometimes. Now, looking back now, there was no question to respond to, just another one of his commands. She's calculating now. It's true. Now, after the uber romantic proposal and the cocktail that followed at a club with family and friends, because remember now there's music, there's food, everybody's celebrating, talking about their shoibi, hey. I had playfully asked him she had said yes, so after they have one ring, she said, I playfully asked him, is it not you that insulted me yesterday? Now you're acting like a knight in shining armor. Immediately I said it, the regret came in droves. He went from his boyish grin to eyes narrowing and flashing in anger. Are you seriously bringing that up? Just be grateful that I overlooked your little tantrum, he continued. You're about to be a married woman now. You better grow up and start acting like one. Don't ever walk out on me again. Next time, I won't forgive as easily, he ended with a warning. So you went from quarrel. Somebody called you the B word. And if you don't know what the B word is, it's a female dog. You find it unacceptable, so you walked out. Now, the person came and planned a whole proposal. And you were forced because really nobody really forced her. Even though they were putting ring on your finger, you can remove ring. It's not hard. You can shout, no, it's not hard. Now you are telling that person, hey, we didn't settle the last thing. And they're like, just leave it. Many of you have had friends that said, or people that said in a relationship, forget about it. That was just yesterday's stuff. Let's not talk about it anymore. What color of flag is that? Put it in the chat. What color of flag is that? If someone is always looking to sweep things under the rug, or maybe you were even the one that offended the person, and now you're bringing it up because you want to apologize. And the person's like, don't worry about it. My sister, my brother, don't think that's a good thing. It's not, because resentment thrives there. Or you might be entering into a relationship where the power distance is not equivalent for both of you. You are about to be the controlling manipulator. And that person is probably in a people-pleasing cycle that you don't want to encourage or enable, because ultimately it deprives the person of their own power. I really hope that you have the courage to allow people stand up for themselves. I really hope that. I really do. So think about it. My anti-prayer was coming close, so I managed an apologetic smile as I linked my hand in my hands with his, trying to keep up appearances. Hashtag what? Hashtag keep up appearances. Put that in the chat. Hashtag keep up appearances. I also remember his Uncle Owela as well, with his robust laughter saying, it's only a good girl like you that can marry Timmy B's hot hair, though. And everyone had laughed approvingly, like I was a special angel breed from heaven, devoid of hurt or anger, and suitably long suffering to be called a wife. When people around you say wife material, what are they honoring you for? Are they honoring you for your silence in the face of issues? When they call you a long suffering mom, are they honoring you for being the one that is cooking, cleaning, bathing, scrubbing, even though your children are teenagers? What are they honoring you for? You're a loyal employee. Is it because they have passed you up with promotions over and over and over again, but you are still there? Why? Why are people saying that you are a good person? I want you today to analyze your goodness. Is it because you never argue against status quo? If your organization says we're going this way, you just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. So because of that, they say, she's so good. That sister, she'll be the last person to leave this church till everybody leaves. She must be the one to close the door, wipe the chairs, and so your other relationships suffer, and so your other interests suffer. And what does everybody call you? They don't say, no, sis, we have noticed you're the only one that's doing this. Let's begin to share it. Let's begin to share these responsibilities, these duties. No, they're like, carry it and be going. Or maybe you're in a group project in school or something, and they're not, letting you take the lead on everything. Only you all the time. Only you. And they're like, well done, no. I don't really know how I would have done this thing without you. You're really, really a good colleague. This is my colleague. She's an angel. He's so wonderful. Anything I want. This is my husband. He has never said no to me. Anything I want, he just does. So you are good. So therefore, you are what? Good. In the family, anytime anybody needs money, you are it. So therefore, you are what? Good. Is that what your goodness is? There's something really striking in the Bible. It said, if every man speaks well of you, somebody complete that scripture, like literally quoted verbatim in the chat. If everybody speaks good of you, my brother, my sister, it's not a good testimony if everybody speaks good of you. Because how come you don't have anything you can stand for? If you don't have anything you can stand for, you fall for everything. How come? Her auntie, she was dodging again. Remember, sometimes some people don't share problems. They don't want to embarrass their family. They don't want to embarrass their family. A taboo has happened. The most egregious circumstances. Maybe you find out someone is molesting a child, but because you don't want people to look at this family funny, where have you compromised your values and your beliefs? At work, everybody is doing it. I cannot come and be the one that will go and call ethics. Everybody is settling everybody. Everybody is. Do you want to hear more about the story? Do you want to hear more? Well, I'll just keep on reading right here. So they went right on and they've started planning wedding now. You have to let bygones be bygones because why? You have collected what? You have collected ring. So you just keep moving. All the red flags, all the yellow flags, you just ignore it. In fact, you're not looking again. Is it red, green, this thing? Why? Because there's a wedding date and you have paid deposit for the hall. Anyway, the whirlwind of wedding planning had started with a flurry of activities. Laifa had convened our friends in a WhatsApp group, and soon Asoebi outfits choices were being evaluated. You see, they have already started planning their Asoebi. Your friends are planning. They have booked their flights, all these things, and you're like, surely, somebody cannot go and cancel a wedding. Let me just you guys something. There was something I saw on Instagram yesterday. There's this wedding show, crazy shows, love dating shows. And there was this show where they put this man and this woman, where you come and make your decision if you want to be together is at the altar. Mind you, they have decorated the place for a wedding. The minister is in front. They put wedding gown on the lady, tuxedo on the dude. And after you guys have spent this time, you come to the altar and say whether or not you want to be with this person. Boys' family day, girls' family day. Wedding paid for by the organizers of this TV show. That's how young man say, I like you. I know you will fight for this relationship. I'm wanting, but it's a no from me. I can't say yes today. And guess what people started putting in the chat? So embarrassing. How can you embarrass the girl like that? How? And I can almost see how some people can go through with something that is a complete red flag, just so that we don't make people uncomfortable. I mean, what will people go home and say? That the wedding was supposed to happen, the wedding didn't happen. How will we really, really explain this thing? That this happened? You know, people get so caught up in the dramatics of what's happening that they can no longer honor their boundaries. Do you see how that happens? And it becomes this torment for the soul because you're literally contorting yourself just to fit into other people's molds. So they are started planning. They have choreography. Their dress orders have started coming. You know that in America was where I saw that people could book a venue almost 2 years in advance. Somebody is planning their wedding now. Their wedding is happening September 2026. And I'm just confused. I'm like, in that time, a Nigerian will meet somebody, see their family, get married, have their first child. The first child will start going to school. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know whether we are the ones that have a problem because we don't spend time marinating in the engagement, or whether they have a problem for spending all this time planning a wedding that may or may not. Nigeria, 3 months. In fact, you don't even say it. You don't say it till the weekend, maybe the month of the wedding. That's when you come and say, I'm engaged, guys. Yeah, 2 years engagement. Anyway, so they were planning this wedding in the WhatsApp group, remember? And there was talk of specially choreographed dance that I made clear was not a desire of mine and I was not a willing party to. You know, when your friends are like, don't worry now, we'll do this, we'll do that. Don't worry, don't worry. You did fear, Erica had smirked. Don't worry, we will give you the easy steps. This one that you cannot even do simple owigiri, she stated. You think we want to embarrass us? You think we want you to embarrass us? I burst out laughing. Only in the Nigerian party scene do guests get to think that an event bears a direct representation of them. They become almost like ambassadors of events they attend, proudly displaying expensive souvenirs and speaking about the performing musicians like they paid for them. On the other hand, if it were a flop, they would almost deny that they went there. This was the proverbial good child who had many parents versus the failure one no one wanted. Such was my wedding plan progress when the chink started turning to fault-sized cracks in the armor. You know this thing when they talk about it has a chink in the armor, have a chip on their shoulder. It just looks like a small thing. And you know now, Motola, sometimes when she gets angry, she used to shout. You know now, Prince, if you just annoy him like this, he won't talk to you for 2 days. You know, it just sounds like a small thing. But you know now, you always be back. Sorry, these are not my people. My people here, they're very nice. I'm talking about the other Motola. You know now, Engineer Ahmed, if you don't do your work well, it will cuss you out in the office. Nah. And then it's just a little chink, a little bit of a chink. Till you see that this small chink can become a crack. Till you see that this small behavior that you are excusing, it can become something major. And I don't even mean for other people. I mean also for you as an individual. Some of the behaviors you are doing, if you keep extrapolating this, relating it to different contexts, does it serve you? Does it serve you? The first family feud happened at the introduction. This is an event where the close family of the groom comes to formally be introduced to the bride's family and states their intention of marriage. It's an intimate event which holds at the home of the bride's parents. And after all pleasantries, a list for the bride price items will be received by the groom's family. That would usually be in deference as the obliging party that came to seek the proverbial golden flower. You know, when somebody say, I came, there's a flower I found, I want to pluck. It started with my dad announcing that the customary traditional wedding will hold in our hometown of Sabama. He had declared amidst the festivities and upon receiving cases of beverage gifts. You know, if you have ever been to an Ijaw introduction, it's so beautiful. This person will say, I greet you with this drink. The other person say, no, I greet you back with this drink if I add money. Then this I will say, no, let me be greeting you. Everything looks like it's by force. I love it so much. It's beautiful. Anyway, our father had now declared all roads lead to Sagbama for the wedding of the year. My parents were so proud of the house, which had been recently renovated. It had a humongous living room, which seemed to me like a quarter of a soccer field. He would often justify the size of it, saying, my daughters will marry from this house now. Where would the guests sit? You would think he was marrying them out every single month with the effort he was putting into building and furnishing it. As family and guests laughed, remember now, this is her father. He's proud of this house. Remember that the wedding, I keep telling people, I tell more grooms than no. I say the wedding is for the bride, oh, just go like that. The wedding is for who? The bride. Don't be complaining. Don't be complaining. Bride price is like this. They want to cut off our neck. If you don't want to do, don't do. Or you discuss it with the family way before the wedding. At the wedding, you're like, are they selling people what? How much? How much did they ask for? How much? I mean, this is my personal opinion. But don't be too argumentative about such things. And if they sound ridiculous, be conciliatory. When they are doing diplomacy, they don't use shouts. It's not by force to marry the girl. They don't use shout. Sit down and be like, my people, did you say I should buy car? My people, forgive me, oh. Can I do goat? Now, there my power reach. You know, be conciliatory. You can't go and be marrying somebody and be shouting. Why are people not having home training on diplomacy these days? I don't quite understand that. Anyway, what happened? As family and guests laughed, he may be blurted, but that is almost 1,000 kilometers away. I would prefer to do it here. This is groom. This is groom talking to father of the bride. The spokesman from his family quickly leapt off, looking abashed, and tried to smooth things out. Well, my in-law, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it, he said with forced humor, while he turned to look at the groom sternly, beseeching and willing him to acquiesce or at the worst, stay quiet. You know, the spokesman is the one that represents the family. You don't even speak. As groom, you don't really even have voice. Till they ask you a question, you don't speak. You see that? But no, this groom blurted out. When half of the people in the room, they are older than you. He blurted out. But no, Timebi did not get the memo. I could see my dad had a little tick at the side of his mouth, struggling to keep calm from the unusual show of disrespect and challenge. He managed a laugh and said, children of nowadays, they don't like the village. Timebi had discourteously retorted, this has nothing to do with that. We're just being logical and practical. There's no reason to drive all the way there when everyone we know is already here. It's ridiculous. If your spouse has ever spoken in public and shame caught you, you already understand what I'm saying here. At that point, voices raised in an uproar. It was uncharacteristic for a prospective groom to be so forthright to speak directly to the father of the intended bride. The introduction is a nuanced ceremony guided by third-party spokespeople, where the groom rarely spoke except spoken to. Such was the delicateness of the event. My father's spokesman had summarily ordered him to be quiet, exchanging a few words with him, while his own family struggled to get him out of the room. I heard this story largely third hand from my room where I was all spruced up and waiting to be summoned to greet my soon-to-be in-laws at the end of the formalities. But when I heard the uproar, my heart sank, and I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that it was a Timiebi blow-up. You know, when people say your spouse did something, even you can't argue because it's characteristic of them. It's characteristic. Yeah, somebody put in the chat, said, no emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's not so much as the decision we've made or the perspective we have, but how we communicate it. Does it show respect? Does it show honor? Does it allow the other person to also act in grace? That kind of person is a ticking bomb. That is so true. After the event, the episode raised so many questions in the family that I subsequently tried to make lame excuses for him. He's just blunt like that. He says what he's thinking. You know he went to school abroad. That's how they speak over there. Mommy, please help me beg Daddy. Daddy, don't you want me to marry? A few days later, a special emissary was sent from Timiebi's family, Uncle Owela. He came to formally apologize to my dad, who at this point had gone from seething to concerned. You know, when maybe your friend, someone did something to your friend or something, and you're upset, what's the meaning of that? And later you are saying, wait, this thing is concerning, no, there's a problem here, it's not okay. And the father talked to the daughter. He said, my daughter, are you sure you want to marry this one? Looking straight at me, I quickly said, yes, Daddy, he's very sorry. And the father said, if he's sorry, why is he not here to apologize? My father had asked unconvincingly. Maybe they told him not to come. I lied. Just happy that my perfect wedding plans were back in motion. I know he accepted to smooth things over because of his daughter's happiness, or so he thought. When I called him maybe to tell him the good news, he just said gruffly, I said what I said. And I stand by it. Just because he's your father does not give him the right to dictate to me. Hey, God, oh. If during your wedding planning, your spouse is already arguing with your dad and telling him who is Lord of his home, I'm concerned. I'm really quite concerned. If you are not concerned, I'm concerned on your behalf. My attempts to explain why going to my hometown meant so much to my dad fell on deaf ears, and he summarily changed the topic with an, I don't want to talk about that anymore. If you want to keep talking, then get off my phone. How about it maybe, has it gotten to that? I managed. He doubled down with, I have told you, I will not be disrespected in my own marriage. You better choose whose side you are on, your father's or mine, because I don't tolerate disloyalty. Who has ever asked you to do that before? A friend who has said, you cannot now talk to two other friends because people are now BFFs. A boss who has said, you cannot speak to the superior boss. You people should keep things only between you both. Meanwhile, this is a matrix organization. People saying loyalty is the most important thing to them. Question some of those things. Why is loyalty the most important thing to you? Are we in a secret society? I didn't say confidence. I didn't say respect. I didn't say emotional intelligence. Loyalty. Why are we swearing to loyalty to the point of blood oath? Did you murder someone? What don't you want to say? Really, really, really. And before you get married, somebody is saying, choose between your father and me, a spouse, or even a female saying, choose between your mother and me. Just know that I'm going to be the number one woman in your life. Why do we need to explain those things? Why? My mother gave birth to me. She has raised me all this while. So we're about to get married now. Why are we having to choose? We never even marry. What really happened? Boundaries. Let people give you a position in their lives. Don't necessarily go take it. If you are having to tell that man you're number one in his life, why are you in that relationship? It's unnecessary. Even the mention of him calling my dad to say thank you for the venue concession to Lagos set him off so much. But as always, I put yet another pretty bow on it and left it alone as just the usual character flaw. That my friend, she knows why we are friends. So she knows me. Every time I get hot, she will just pipe down. She will just pipe down. You see that friend that's piping down, the day that friend will blow up, even you will not believe. You'll be like, oh, so you have been carrying me in your mind all this while. You that allowed your friend to be carrying you, you never apologized. Can't you see how this thing can get to an untenable point? And then you lose a beautiful relationship because you never, ever, 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 ever apologized. Anyway, to maybe I'd always been difficult with everybody, and I thought very wrongly that I was the anointed person to make up for the not so desirable attitudes and behavior. After all, he was faithful, I reasoned, super smart with a good career and future. Even though he had some disciplinary issues at his workplace, he was a professing Christian who attended church regularly. So what more do I want? I want you to take today and the rest of this week to look at what are your green flags? Do they include kindness? Or are they just what this person has and what this person's title is? Do you say, I'm looking for a good person who talks to people civilly? I'm looking for someone who thinks logically and rationally. Are those in your green flags? Or is it profession, looks, money? Think again and begin to make your green flags a more robust place. It all came to me as I heard him cuss out his mother on the phone. I wanted to be with someone I did not have to walk on eggshells around. I wanted to be with someone who respected me as much as he claimed to love me. I wanted to be around an emotionally stable person whose life was not punctuated by outbursts. Someone who was measured, even keeled, and reasonable, who cared about the relationships in my life and heck, his own life too. Because remember, the person he was doing this to was his own mother, not even her. And if you don't care about your own relationships, why am I expecting that you will care about me? It is a staple in your life. The reality dawned that day, like cold water running from my head to my toes. I knew I had to cancel the wedding scheduled in 2 weeks' time because I did not need to be psychic to see how miserable the life I was going for in this marriage would be. I pulled myself up to my feet, picked up my bag, and started walking out. It was for the last time I heard him say, "Come back here. Where do you think you are going?" He kept calling me back, but he kept sounding very distant and as remote as I had realized the possibility of a lifetime with this man had become. I opened the door and walked out. It's okay. Feel free to clap. It's okay. Feel free to clap. There ends the reading of Every Woman's Dream Man. Tell me something in the chat. What did you learn? What did you see? What did you learn? Every Woman's Dream Man. So tell me, what did you learn from this book? What did you learn from that story? Sometimes it can be uncomfortable. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable to actually have to end a relationship or to confront, right? In this case, she had to end her relationship. In other stories in the book, you'll see where people kept going on. There were yellow flags that they could fix. This was the red flags. Again, if you get this book, one of your bonuses is necessary endings. How you know that a relationship is time to end. How you know that a contract, an agreement, an interaction an episode has come to an end sometimes. But you need the tools to be able to do that. And that's what this book does for you. And you'll see in the chat links for you to purchase your copies of A Line in the Sand. For the month of Valentine's, we're doing something really dope. The month of love. We are having a boundaries boot camp at the end of the month. And if you get a copy of this book, you get the book club for free. We'll be having a 5-day book club where we'll be talking through these stories. We'll be reading these stories, and you will get bonuses that are going to make your socks fly off your feet. If you are looking for a gift to give to someone this season, A Line in the Sand and my other book, A Tale of Two Wives, are the books that you're looking for. These two books are the ones you're looking for. And when you get into them, you will see exactly the reason why. That was 1 out of 14 stories. Let me tell you something. In the author's note, I wrote something that I think that everybody should have. Go ahead and put the links in the chat. And I want you to put your lessons. What did you learn from the story that we just shared? Put it in the chat. I'd like to read some of them out. I said this. Instead of us to just be all about the asoebi and the dancing and the couple goals and the ankles and the romantic gifts and the Valentine's Day dates, let's change culture, shall we? Let's talk about things that really, truly matter. Let's build up our value system, our beliefs. Let's strengthen people's voices, help them find their voices, own their power, stand for truth in their relationships, shall we? True culture shaping comes from telling stories, and rich learning is entrenched by sharing our experiences. Many of you were talking today about some of the things that you've also been through, about some of the experiences you've had, about red flags in the chat. And this is why I wrote this book. I want to give you language to share your experiences and share other experiences so that you can both learn from your group. And so I leave you with this word as I paraphrased. This is Joel chapter 1, verse 3, a Bible verse, and it says, tell your children about it and let your children tell their children and their children the next generation. And I dare say, tell your friends about it. Tell your friends' friends about it. And let your friends' friends tell their friends. That's how you get the best experience of this book. Get some friends and family to read this book with. Now, if you and your friends get more than 10 copies, I will come have a session with your group and have a sit down with you all, chat with you all. I'm super excited to be doing it. And I know you are too. Okay? So the link is in the bio. Go ahead and get your books. This month is about to be phenomenal, as well as the month of March. So you'll be seeing us around. And if you don't know where to get it or how to get it, the link is in the bio. But beyond that, send me a chat. You can send me a chat on what's my DM at IamBralade on Instagram. You can do that. Or you can go ahead, click the link in the bio and get your copies. And the bonuses, everything will come to you. God bless you. I love you. I honor you. It's been wonderful spending Sunday afternoon with you. Hasn't it been? Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your learnings. And go ahead, if you're watching the replay, put your learnings. What part stood out to you? What part stood out to you in this story? God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.